So today we're delighted to have Don Martin, who is the creative force behind Winnie's Original. So in this podcast, we're going to talk about Winnie's Original, how it began, Don's passion for crafting extraordinary luxury jams, sauces, and condiments. Hey, Don, how are you doing, Don? Right?
I'm very well, David. How are you?
Good. Yeah, we're all good. Thank you. We're all good. Well, listen, thank you very much, first of all, for coming onto the Spotlight series and taking the time out of your day to talk to us about your business. Would be a good idea. It'd be great if you could just kick us off by telling us a little bit more about Winnie's Original, what it is, what it does, and what it's all about.
Sure. First and foremost, it's the greatest jam in the world, condiments in the world. And I just have to get that out there. But no, I mean, Winnie's is born out of a passion for creativity more than anything else. And way back in 2013, after a friend donated some damsons, my mum made some jams. I took them to work. They loved them, and long story short, the idea kicked off in my head. Actually, I can create and supply food, and which is two of my passions.
Yeah.
And it kind of started from there, really. And since then, a lot's happened, including COVID.
Yeah.
But essentially, moving up to 2022, I moved to Oxfordshire, and I decided that in the midst of COVID, I decided that I needed to have or restart my creative passions, and built a built a kitchen in my garage,
Oh, nice.
and then started Winnie's again in 2002. Oh, sorry, 2022. And then since then it's been all cylinders really. I've been trying to push it and grow it as much as possible organically, and it's been a labor of love, really. Yeah.
Okay. So you started 2013. You say it's off of a recipe. Is it like a secret sauce recipe? Is there like
No, no, not at all, not at all. It's very much I'll say a happy accident. A friend of ours. I was working in an insurance company at the time, and then a friend of ours, yeah, gave us some damsons, and my mum said, "Oh, Granddad used to make jams. Let me make some jams out of it." So she
yeah
made those jams, and everyone loved it. And I was like, "Oh, this is really nice, and it's actually good. It's a good feeling to see people love the food
yeah
that you give them." And yeah, it really started from there. The recipes obviously are signed off by Winnie, my mum,
okay
but generally I create them, and I try and infuse every ounce of my creative passion into them. So I don't really want to create what's already been done. I want to
yeah.
create something that is great and unusual.
So you're trying to find a little bit of a niche in the market, then trying to find something a bit different as opposed to
Yeah,
just
yeah,
another strawberry jam or
exactly. Yeah, and I think there is room for the what we call the normal,
yeah.
but I love to create something that people will really love.
It's an interesting point actually, because quite often, like you say, there's that fear, isn't there, going into business? There's that fear. If there's a couple of things. One is other people are already doing it, so it's a really crowded marketplace. So how am I going to be able to compete with the big players, sort of thing?
Mm.
And then the other is if it's not already in the marketplace, then why hasn't somebody done it? So it's kind of that debilitating thought process. As a lot of people don't go into business because of those fears. So,
Yes, 100%. And I come from a design background, so
yeah.
I embrace the creative process. Much
Okay.
like I love to think about Heston Blumenthal and Fat
Yeah.
Duck and the way he creates his meals, and the amount of time he says he spends on some of these things, 7 years creating one dish.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's not all the time, but it's that creative process trying to get it perfect. And I'm no Heston Blumenthal by any stretch of the imagination, but I do feel like there are projects that I've had in my mind for the last 7 years that I haven't kicked off yet, and I know they
Right.
will. No one's ever done them, but I haven't had um, the brain space to do them at this point in time because I'm just trying to, you know, make those small incremental changes with the business.
So what gave you the confidence to go out there and do it then? Because like you say, you're doing something that's in a very niche, nobody else is sort of doing. There is
Yeah,
that fear of if somebody else hasn't done it, it probably won't work. What sort of gave you the confidence to say, right, damn, I'm doing it?
I actually do think it's my background in design. It was all about
Okay.
failing. It was all about creating something that you felt comfortable with.
Yeah,
But not only that, going through that design process and failing and continuing and failing and continuing and following that cycle to something that is actually, um, I say, worthy of what your imagination, produce. So for me, it's not about um, failing. It's more about gaining insight into that perfect product,
yeah,
what you see as great. And I think it's the audience, your customers that tell you actually this is great.
yeah.
And I'm happy um, that particularly two products that I've made have been that. They love it, and that's what gives me the happiness to see their faces when they taste it is
It's
just
a,
amazing.
it's a good mindset. That failing thing is a process to learn more. It's a discovery process. It's that failing forward.
Yes,
Every failure is one step closer to. It's that Edison sort of process, isn't it? It's like
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a lot of people like, I don't want to fail, and then don't start, don't do anything. So yeah, well done. That's
Mm,
really impressive.
thank you.
So business isn't always easy. What
Not at all, no.
what sort of challenges have you sort of faced over that period, and how have you overcome some of those challenges?
Um, I think being a creative person, um, business doesn't naturally come to me,
Okay.
and understanding finance and understanding ins and outs of for instance, consumer law and all of these types of things. It doesn't come naturally. You have to read a huge amount, and you forget a huge amount as well,
Yeah.
and you have to really indoctrinate yourself with the things that you need to do to make sure that people are safe, your customers are safe, and your product is marketed in the right way and not seen in the you know seen as something that, well, it is positioned where you don't want it to be. And you have to be, well, I have been very careful in the way that I've positioned it. Even the design of the jar, I've done it in a very specific way, um, to make sure that it appeals to a certain type of audience.
Okay.
Um, so I, I think what I found hard is one, doing it all by myself,
Yeah.
pretty much. And not to say that people and family and friends haven't helped me out, because I've got finance from friends and family. I've got people helping me, label jars and things like
Yeah.
that. But it's more that then their passion is not in this. So I sometimes do feel alone. You do feel like you're the only one that can do it. And when you, for instance, when I originally set the price point for the jams, everyone said no way, no one will ever pay that,
Okay.
and then it did, and it just happened. It's just it's a, I want to say a happy coincidence, but now you see jams way above anything that I'm
Yeah.
charging for them. So
So, so you say about the passion. You're clearly very passionate about what you do, and the friends and family are willing to help, and they're there to support you, but don't
yeah,
necessarily have that same intrinsic passion for what you're doing. In
yeah.
those times where you have got some naysayers around you, you've got some negative, you've got some sort of hard challenges to overcome. What sort of things have you done to help get through those? How have you surrounded yourself with the right environment to push through?
I'm quite a faith-based person.
Sure.
So even though people are negative, I know I do understand that sometimes they're negative because they don't understand.
Yeah.
And for a lot of things, people just don't necessarily understand what it is they're looking at. And it's not until they see it happen, then they start to believe it. So I always try and make it happen. I always try and, even if it's just, I've created, let's just say, a new condiment. and they haven't tasted it before. I let them taste it. Oh, this is really nice. Okay, take it in a step further. You let the public taste it. Oh, this is really nice. Record it, play it back, show people, and continue that cycle. And eventually it does click on that actually this does work. It really is great. And that's what I think is the organic part of it. It's not grown for pushing it in people's faces because it's social media. It's grown because it is actually liked, and the iteration of making it better is you know is the driving force rather than just randomly giving people nonsense.
Yeah, what I really like about that is you've clearly got a positive outlook. So you're looking for evidence to support the positive can-do attitude, as opposed to inherently human nature. We tend to look at the negatives and focus on what's not working.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So you've clearly got that positive. I'm looking for evidence to support why it should work, rather than all the evidence to say why it shouldn't. Very good.
Yeah.
If you had the opportunity to go back and wind back the clock and sort of go back, like whether it's 2013 or whether it's sort of the 2022, if you had the chance to go back and start again, would you do anything differently? And if you would, what would you do differently?
100%. I'll do some things differently.
Okay.
The creative process, no, that's absolutely fine. I like the process I've taken, but the procrastination, not doing things because of fear, because there is some fear in some things. You don't want to ask family and friends for a little bit of money to help you get over that hump, or not doing a show because you think it's too big, or not approaching larger organizations because you feel like you're not big enough or you're not good enough. Um, Actually, every stepping stone is is one step closer, even if it fails, is one step closer to you getting where you want to be. And you know, more recently, I've been to a whole load of farm shops because that was one of the steps that I was taking.
Yeah.
Um, and only one of those farm shops took me, but it was that one that changed everything. It really changed everything. It gave me more confidence. It made me stand up and look at people and really embrace their opinions. So, and that gave me a huge amount of confidence.
I think you sort of hear and see lots of evidence of that in successful people. And the J.K. Rowling, how many publishers said no to the book before the one
Yeah,
yes, and things like that. So it kind of goes back to your faith and belief in the product, and the positivity, and it's going to work, and then that resilience to the negatives and the no's and things like that. So
yeah.
there's a lot of people out there that I think would benefit from having a bit of that belief, and surrounding themselves with positive people that
It's
they can go and achieve their
I,
goal.
I 100% think that if you put passion before the money, it will be more successful in the end. I'm not saying money's not important; it definitely is. But if the passion is there, I reckon eventually people will see that. And as long as obviously you have to have a product that is appealing to the market, but
Yeah.
you do need that passion, and it will should shine through.
Passion before pounds.
Yes, definitely.
So let's talk a
At
little bit.
least that's my belief anyway.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think if you've got passion for what you're doing, passion for your products or services and things, then that energy will come across.
Yeah,
More
yeah.
likely to sort of see it through to fruition. You're more likely to be resilient to the no's, the failures that take you that step
Exactly.
further. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't
Um.
take it personally. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's kind of that sort of, I can't remember what it's called, like the success curve. It's kind of, most people go through a process where actually they get to the point of lots of negatives and things, and they're just about to break through, but that's the point they give up.
Yeah,
That
indeed.
little that one conversation that takes you to the next bit is the bit where the tick goes
Exactly. Yeah.
well. So let's talk about a little bit about time, because clearly you're a busy person. You've got other things going on. You've got full-time employment and things like. How do you manage your time? Because there's only 24 hours in a day. We've all only got 24 hours.
Well, that's why I've got the grades. The time management is a difficult one.
Yeah,
It's my current job, my full-time job, they're very good to me in the sense that they do support me in the role that my hobby that I want to do in this
yeah.
business. So it's that's very good. But equally, I have to give up my weekends sometimes because, if I'm going to a market stall or I'm going to a show, then that has to be all planned ahead.
Mhm.
There is quite a lot of planning, and if you could see the other side of this room, you'd see this massive board of all of my tickings and all of my planned activities for the year. But there is a huge amount of planning that goes into it, and I have to really think about key points in the year that I want to utilize and capitalize on.
Okay.
Christmas, Easter, and then that summer period and what I'm going to do within them. Because for a company like mine, where it's FMCG, and these are not necessarily for everyone. It doesn't really lend to like massive food shows necessarily,
Yeah.
unless it's something like previously I've done good food, and the exposure there is great. But if you're spending, 3, 4 thousand pounds on that, but then you go in there, and even though you're selling, you only make £1,000. You've got to somehow reconcile in your head that that loss is a gain.
Okay.
But that is a massive loss when you're not making, a huge amount of money. So that time management and understanding and choosing those things that are going to really propel your business is key, I find anyway, in what I do. So niche markets around Oxfordshire and surrounding counties is my mainstay, and I focus on those things to build up, as I said, that organic growth.
Now, what I like about what you're saying is you've clearly got a very clear vision around what it is you're doing, and you've got a clear idea of what your marketplace is, your target market, what your niche is. And by the sounds of it, you've got a very clear plan and strategy to then deliver it as well. Um,
I would say I have a plan. I wouldn't say it's exactly, it's ever changing. And as a creative person, I do find it hard to stick to a plan, particularly
I,
as
I was going to
things
ask you that.
change.
Actually. I didn't want a stereotypical, like, sort of stereotype of creative, but kind of the creative side and the planning side. Are they a natural fit, you think?
No, they're not, they're not at all. One day I'll be, I will literally sit in the kitchen, um, and I will lose track of time.
Yeah.
So that planning that I've put in place, oh no, I'll only spend this amount of time, then I've got to go upstairs. I've got to design this new label for it goes completely out the window, and then all of a sudden I've got no time left. But I've created something new, and that's great.
Yeah.
So it's quite a hard balancing act for the thing you love, for the things you have to do.
Yeah.
Um,
And business needs those different elements, doesn't it? It's like you got to put your sales director's hat on and do your sales bit. You've got to put your operations director's hat on and do
Indeed,
the
yeah,
operation and
yeah,
the design and stuff. You've also got to do your finance, put your finance hat on, look at the plans and
yeah.
and being a business owner and running a business means that sometimes you have to be different people that aren't necessarily your natural default style.
Exactly, exactly. And in amongst all of that, when you do have a day job as well,
Yeah.
um, you have to be very careful that you don't burn yourself out as well.
Yeah.
It's very easy to overextend yourself and not give yourself the time to actually come down from everything that's happening. And and being that mental health is one of those big issues that are out there, you need to
Yeah.
kind of make sure that you're still on top and you're physically okay.
Getting that balance right is really
Yeah.
important. So in terms of advice to people out there just starting or thinking about, should I do something and stuff, what advice would you give to those people out there that are sort of like sat on that fence, maybe thinking, shall I,
Yeah.
shan't I? Is it worth it?
I I think you should. And the reason behind that is you wouldn't be thinking about it if there weren't some sort of passion behind it. But if it is just money, then you're likely to fail because 9 times out of 10, when you think about the money side of things, you're likely just to flip and flop between things that make money
Yeah.
and rather than focus on the thing that gives you the passion to do it because, passion will take you a long way. And if you lose that passion, 5 years in, let's say, and you still haven't made the money, then you know it, you kind of, well, sorry, if you haven't got the passion and you're still trying to make that money 5 years in, then there's nothing driving you except for money, and then you'll see something else and you run off and do that. Passion is key for me. You have to have that. Uh, you have to really want to do it, because starting a small business or starting a business is hard.
Yeah.
It's not for the faint-hearted. The thing is, you have to, if you work in 16, 17 hour days, um, then you've got to love it. You really have.
You've got to have that intrinsic motivator, having it, that passion, find your why, all of those sort of things
Definitely.
to see you through. Because the honeymoon period ends after, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever.
Exactly.
Then it gets tough, doesn't it?
I do find you have anniversaries though where it becomes great again.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. It's a roller coaster, right? It's like, yeah,
yeah. But yeah, it is tough, and when you for the majority of people that start businesses, they do have a second job, and having to balance those two things and then a family on top of that as well.
absolutely.
It's going to be very hard.
Yeah, very good. Listen, there's some great advice there. Thank you ever so much for sharing, your journey and some of your sort of thoughts and experiences. Before we wrap it up, it'd be great to just let our listeners know where they can find out a little bit more about the jams and make purchases and things like that. Where can they go to find out a bit
Yeah,
more?
so currently the main place is online at winniesoriginal.com, or .co.uk. Um, and you can also find me in markets around Oxfordshire as well, which you can also find on my website as well. I have to update it for this year, to be fair. Another thing that I have to do being
Admin task.
yeah. But yeah, you can find it on the website as well.
Very good. Don, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, David.